you can go what? Bear hunt. Remember that? And you gonna come up with a what? A bear. Pair of lips will tell you anything.
We want it quick. You trying to hurry up and bake that cake? It's not gonna come out right.
Gonna come out
There's a process.
Mama said, Bible said, Mama said, Bible said, Mama said, Bible said. Ooh.
You can check numbers. You can go through. You can turn into
the lady from
FBI.
You can turn.
You're gonna find all kind of stuff.
Okay. Look, you can go what? Bear hunt. Remember that? And you gonna come up with a what? A bear. When you go bear hunting, you gonna come back with a bear.
Yes, sure.
And I never forget that. We didn't understand that, but yeah.
If you start off already chasing a man,
yeah.
When he does do something, then what you gonna do? Then what?
Now that's the question for me. Okay, so you found out that he cheats. So what do?
Keep chasing.
You got what you wanted. You found out what he do. But that's the thing. What are you gonna do with the information? And that part is very important because a lot of people do different things with that information. And one thing I don't do, shoot, I don't want that information. I ain't got time for that. You know, I have a saying in my life, and this saying has never failed me. Anything a person wants me to know, they will tell me. Anything that I need to know, God will show me. So if he's cheating, trust me, God is going to show me. But it ain't nothing that what I refuse to do is to give you a script. You know what I'm saying? I'm never going to give a guy a script. And that's something and this is totally off subject. I just want to say this. I was telling one of my friends one time, because, you know, he had a situation where he was dealing with another woman outside of his relationship. And he was like, well, you know, she does this, she does that. I say, well, of course she can do all those things. You gave her a script. You told her what your other girl wasn't doing. What your wife wasn't doing. You told her that. So when you told her that, that's like somebody giving you the Cliff Notes. You gave her the Cliff Notes. If you can't pass the test without Cliff Notes, if you give a person Cliff Notes, of course they're going to pass the test. They're going to be everything that you want. I'm not giving nobody no Cliff Notes. I'm not giving nobody a script. So when I hear the type of person that you are, and I see, and people speak well about you, and you have good character, I see those things in you that let me know, oh yeah, that might be a mate for me. But if every time I hear somebody say your name, and they like, oh, that nigga ain't no good, and you don't have good character, character is very important. Very important. I don't want to meet your representative. Pair of lips will tell you anything. But when you look at how a person moves and how a person is, you can see. And if you see some of the qualities in people that you know is something that you don't want to deal with. I have a friend that's dealing with that now. You know that it's something that you don't want to deal with or you can't deal with. That's one thing we all should do. Pay attention to how a person moves. Because the way people act, the way people move, the way people show you. Because one thing about people, everybody, you can show somebody something that you want them to see. You can show them different stuff. But baby, when you pay attention to a person when they ain't paying attention, you will see everything that you need to see. I always pay attention to a person when they mad. If a person mad, I listen to everything that they say at that moment, even though I don't listen. But I'm going to listen to what they say. Because, when a person get mad, that's when a real person come out. It was an ex, someone I dated, and we were real good. We were real good together. We dated twice. We dated in 2013, and then we came back and dated again in 2017. But see, in 2013, I met his representative. But then when I came back and dated him in 2017, I met the real him. And it took me a long time to accept the fact that he wasn't the person that I met in 2013. But then I had to realize, too, that I feel like when I met him in 2013, he was trying to be a better person. He was trying his best to be different. But then by the time we dated again in 2017, he's just who he is. I realized quickly we don't belong together. But I think too that I redated him in 2017 because I'm telling you, I don't know if it's because I look at everything in a positive way. I feel like God brought him back in 2017. You know why? Because when I dated him in 2013, when we broke up in 2013, I don't really feel like I really just got over him. But in 2017, when
You
we
needed
broke
that.
up,
You had to do it.
baby,
Yeah, yeah.
I was good.
Yeah.
I see the real him, and I was like, well, I dodged the bullet. In life, I feel like you'll see the signs from God. When you build a deeper, closer relationship with him, he leads you. And so if it ain't God, if God ain't led me there, I'm not gonna. One thing he always does is where I'm not supposed to be, he always blocks it. I'm gonna tell you a perfect example, and this just happened to me in the month of February. I was supposed to go on a cruise, right? And I had it all set up February 12th. You know, it was my day that I go on my cruise, right? So I've been on a bunch of cruises, so I know everything that I'm supposed to bring, all this here stuff. So I got all the way to New Orleans, right? And that's where the cruise was leaving. And from New Orleans, I got all the way to New Orleans. Bags packed, everything. But days prior to me going to the cruise, my daughter was like, I don't want you to go. My daughter has never, ever in life told me she didn't want me to go on the cruise. She done went on cruises with me or whatever, and she didn't go because she wanted to do these tryouts where she wanted to try out for track. And the last day for her to try out was the day that I was supposed to leave. So she was supposed to go with me, but at the last minute, she didn't go. So she was like, Mama, I really don't want you to go. I was like, girl, I don't really want to go. I said, but I done paid my money, so I gotta go. I done paid my money or whatever. I said, yeah, I don't know. It's something that kind of just don't want me to go. I said, and I never felt like that. I said, but whatever, I'm gonna go and hit on and go. Got all the way to New Orleans. Everything was different things that we were supposed to do was late. And I'm paying attention to the signs. Everything was late. Whatever we were supposed to do, it was late. We got there later. I left later. Everything was late. The people that we was leaving with, they were late. Everything that whole day was late. And I was like, keep in mind, I'm always focusing on something. So I kept focusing on why is all this happening? Because I always believe something happened. Everything happens for a reason. So we get there, all this here, we late, all this different stuff. Normally when we doing check-in, it just was late. We was like a little bit before the boat, before it's time for us to check in. We never check in that late. We always get there 3 hours early. Everything was late. So when I got there, I know what documentation you need. I done took it a bunch of times. This particular time, I had my original birth certificate, which is the original copy that I got when I was born. I've never taken my original birth certificate. I've always taken a certified copy that I've always gotten 2 days before I get ready to go. I always get a copy. I couldn't find the certified birth certificate because I done bought so many copies of it. I couldn't find a copy. So I said, you know what? I got the original. I just used that. I got there. The lady told me she couldn't take my original. And I was like, ma'am, she said, well, we can't take that copy. I said, well, this is the original that I got when I was born. I said, I've used this copy for a bunch of places. Social Security office, why is it? Well, no, we have to have a certified copy. I said, a certified copy? I said, but how certified can you get from the first day I was born? I'm steady talking back and forth to this lady about this birth certificate. She could not take it. So I got my kids, because they say if you can get a picture of it, good. So I got my kids looking at home, my boys. Keep in mind, my girl is the finder. My girl can find anything. I don't care what it is. But my boys was home. They not the finders. They are the looker-overs. So they not gonna find nothing. I don't care what it is. So they looking. They looked everywhere. I told my son exactly where to look. He looked exactly where he said, Mama, I don't see it. I looked here. So I could not find that copy. Because I could not find it, they held the boat up 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes, but they held it 30 minutes from leaving because they were waiting on me to find that copy. I had several copies in my phone, but I couldn't get to the copies that I had in my phone. I had a bunch of copies of this birth certificate in different ways, but I couldn't get to any of them. I couldn't get to none of the copies. So I was like, God, I said, so of course the boat left without me. And I'm like, golly. And I'm sitting up here, I'm trying to figure, because anytime something happened, I'm constantly trying to figure it out. So I ended up having to drive my friend's car back to Texas because she is the one who drove us to New Orleans. So she has a brand new BMW. So I had drove her car before. I couldn't even drive the car. So it was like, I started the car. It took me so many minutes to get the car started because you know them BMWs, they kind of, pretty techy. So I was like trying to start the car, and I tried to pull it out of gear. I couldn't get it out. I drove it before I know how to do this. And I'm like, I started looking up at God. I say, God, what are you trying to tell me? Because I just felt like all of that happened for a reason. I just didn't know. I say, God, can you let me know if I did something wrong? Let me know. Because I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happened, da, 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 da. So finally time goes by, about 45 minutes. I get ready to leave. I got ready to leave. I'm locked on the dock because guess what? Everybody's supposed to be gone. So I'm locked on that, floor. I ran around the place for about 20 minutes before I realized I'm locked on this floor. So guess what? I parked the car in the middle of where I was. And I say, God, am I locked here? God, don't tell me I'm gonna have to wait here until the boat come back. I said, Lord, please hold on. Lead me where I need to go. Something ain't right. It just wasn't right. I got downstairs. I finally got it. I thought about it. Get downstairs. I went down there and I told the lady, I'm locked up here. And she was like, yeah, because everybody gone. I say, yeah, but I got to go back to Texas. I said, I got to drive. She said, oh, so it was funny. She said, so you the one. I said, yeah, what do you mean? She said, you the one that got left behind. I said, yeah, that would be me. So I was upset. I was really upset, but I never projected me being upset on that lady. You know what I'm saying? She didn't know, what I had been through. So I was upset. So I'm just really talking, and I'm still trying to talk, but I'm really upset because I got left. And I never forget. She say, come here. And I look and say, ma'am, because I ain't say nothing to her. I ain't say nothing to make her. She said, I know you was upset about it. I say, yeah, I'm pretty upset. I say, but I don't understand. I say, but you know what? What I will say is God has showed me this, that, and the third. She said, come here. And she held her arms out. And she was just like this little short lady, and I was looking. And I just collapsed in her arms. I just hugged her. She was like, it's okay. It's okay. She was an older lady, And I was like, yeah. I said, I just feel so stressed out. She said, no, don't be stressed, And she told me. And when she said, that happened for a reason. So it made me feel like I ain't crazy.
We want to quit. But the process, he may take you all kind of different ways because you have to learn certain things. And so he used baking a cake as an example. If you're trying to hurry up and bake that cake, it's not going to come out right. There's a process. It has to be whipped without the lumps in it very well. The oven has to be preheated. Your pan has to be pre-boiled before you put it in. And once you get it laid out and poured nice, then it has to go into the oven for X amount of time. And that is the process. You can't speed any of that up or it's not going to come out right.
It's not going to come out right.
So
I like the way, I love that. Tell your pastor, I said,
that was like,
I love that. Yeah, you have to go through the, if you miss one step, that cake ain't going to come out right. It's going to come out flat. Something going to happen with that cake.
So if we try to rush God's process, we're not going to get the whole thing that we need to get. Yeah. We're not going to learn. Or we're not going to be closer to God like we need to be. Or we're not going to understand, God, thank you. My process, now I see. And that's the way it's designed so that we can learn and be. So I do believe that a person's journey, whatever that journey is, whatever their timing is or how they get, this is how God has designed it to be.
That's how he designed it.